but I don't know how to do it. But anyway, it is 7 o'clock. Good evening, everybody. This is Dr. King. This week we will be discussing goal setting and motivation. And I want to welcome everybody. I had actually posted something in the chat box for y'all and didn't realize that you couldn't see it until Sierra told me. So here's the information again. And actually, no, I did not, Sister Thompson. Can either you or Sierra send that forward, please? Actually, let me see if she can catch it on her phone right quick, because I actually have it copied, because I sent it to Kathy. Just a second. I love my brother and sister, but I always forget to send it to them. I have a couple of minutes. Today's presentation isn't going to be too long, so I can get everybody in. Whoa. How's everybody doing this evening? We'll be talking about goal setting and motivation, and as soon as I hit send, we'll get going. It's not going to be too long tonight. Like I said, it's goal setting and motivation is fun and everything, but it's really not a whole lot to it. It's just this is what you need to do, and you're either going to do it or you're not. So without further ado, let's get this going. Start my slideshow and move things out of the way. As with anything, if it stops, the screen stops sharing, let me know, because it's been running and stuff over here the last hour, and so I'm not sure if just like now it's telling me my connection's unstable, so hopefully we won't have any issues there. But if I'm a 34-year resident of Duncanville, Texas. I have lived in this 800 link community for 18 years, and I am a wonderful wife and mother. Educationally, I am a graduate of an associate's degree in liberal arts from Central College, a bachelor's degree in psychology from the University of Texas of Permian Basin, a master's degree in organizational management from the University of Phoenix, and an education doctorate in sports management from North Central University. I consider myself a servant leadership, a servant leader. And those roles that I serve would be 25 plus years of working in corporate America in various industries, 12 years working in higher ed, teaching business, management, leadership, HR, social sciences, humanities, motivation, and professional development. 12 years as a grassroots girls basketball coach for the Lady Panthers Girls Basketball Association. 12 years rope volunteer for Duncanville ISD. Excuse me. I've served as president years plus for PTA here in Duncanville, and then I've served in various roles for various sports leagues in the DFW Metroplex, and I am currently also a volunteer deputy registrar for the Dallas County Elections Department. If anybody needs to register and you live in Dallas County, let me know, so I can get you registered. At this point, you would be registering to vote on election day and not early voting, since the 30-day rule. Let's get going. What TI Communities pillars does this presentation focus on? As always, it will be an education topic, as that is what my job here for TI Communities is, and then transitions over to community building. Build on the education, goes over to the building of the community. And who does this presentation benefit? This presentation will benefit anyone who is looking to learn how to set goals, as well as how to allow motivational forces to those goal setting abilities. Goal setting and motivation pretty much go hand in hand. You can't set goals and work on them if you're not motivated to do so. Good evening, Dr. Sharp. Do me a favor and type your name in the chat box for me, please. And I'll post a link for you to do the post survey right before we end. So what are goals? A goal is defined as the result or achievement toward which effort is directed. And in order to understand that, you have to understand what the definition of effort is, and that is an earnest or strenuous attempt. So basically, a goal is the result or achievement toward which you earnestly or strenuously attempt to do something. You have to say, I'm going to do this and do it. You just can't say I'm going to do this and don't start it. You have to actually put the wheels in motion to get it going. So why are goals important? Goals provide life direction. You know, without goals, we tend to go through life blind, as people would say. Goals tend to give your life purpose and meaning. Let me move some things around so I can see. I have a lot going on my screen that you guys can't see. Goals also provide a way to track life progression. When you have goals and you're trying to fulfill some things, you know, when you're tracking your goals and trying to understand, you know, how close you are to bringing them to fruition, it kind of tracks your life progression. What are you doing with that time that you're, you know, as the years go by, the months and weeks and days, how are you measuring that time of your life? What are you doing? And so then goals also hold one accountable for their life decisions. I mean, at the end of the day, you are responsible for your goals. And as one of my favorite mottos is always, we live our lives according to the choices we make, life decisions. Goals also motivate and gives one drive, perseverance, and determination to succeed. It's hard not to do those things when you're goal driven. You know, they just all go hand in hand together. It's all like a big hand or fingers. You know, motivation, goals, drive, perseverance, determination, all that stuff works together. Then goals also helps one to get over mental blocks, which really does help me a lot when I was working on my doctorate. You know, when you're thinking, and so, I mean, sometimes, you know, you'll get the mental blocks anyway, but when you're focused and trying to do things, you have very little of those. And then the sixth thing is goals provides a means to determine what one really wants out of life. So whether you fulfill your goal or not is strictly on you. Nobody can do it for you. So, and I mean, and this is barring, you know, circumstances happening, anything can happen, COVID, you know, that are kind of sidestep some things. But when you're really working on your goals, you'll know if you really want them or not, because you're going to do what's necessary and cause for everything to make that happen. You know, there is no making excuses and all of that type of thing. So goals kind of show you who you are. And then what does it mean to set goals? And goal setting demands a desired result and could be simply defined as the process of deciding what to accomplish. And oh, that's someone outside. That scared me to death. I was like, what is it? Can you guys hear me?
That's probably why he put it in there.
Still, so you got a hole, so what?
Steve, mute your microphone, please.
What? And I put his brown jacket in there. Remember when Mama got Aaron this?
Dr. Sharp, do me a favor and there you go. I was like, why am I hearing people? I was going crazy for a second there. But it means to set goals. Goal setting demands a desired result and could be simply defined as the process of deciding what to accomplish and then devising a plan in order to do so. The implication of setting a goal is desire for change, and in this way, goal setting is an intellectual exercise used to plan for the future and achieve some semblance of our present dreams. Goals take you closer to your dreams. You know, we all have something that we want to do. You know, in a roundabout way, this wasn't necessarily a goal of mine, but once I started doing it, it actually fits into everything else I'm trying to do with my life. So maybe it was. But we plan for our life that we are having just grand life. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be money or anything, but we all have some vision of what our life is supposed to be in our heads. And when you set goals, you create steps to get to that point. So the power of goal setting, which are the power of goal setting are to create small, frequent motivations that end in results. We're going to always have long-term goals. You know, we have to, but one way to keep yourself motivated to go and fulfill your goals is to also create short ones and see the, you know, the fulfillment come, and that'll encourage you to set another goal and fulfill that, and you just keep going. And we'll talk about how the short-term goals lead to fulfilling long-term goals here in just a second, because they go hand in hand. You know, there's sometimes you're not going to need a long-term goal to fulfill a short-term goal, but you want to have short-term goals that are basically calculated steps to fulfilling long-term goals to give you some type of measurement of where you are. So goals must be challenging. They have to be something that's gonna, like playing a sport. If it's easy, everybody can do it. That takes the fun out of it for most. But goals have to be challenging. Easy goals cause for a loss of attention. So if you're not challenging yourself to do something, it's just like anything. It's just gonna fall by the wayside. You're no longer interested in it. It became boring, for lack of a better word. Goals must consist of both short-term and long-term goals. That was what I was saying just a second ago. You want to create short-term goals because you don't want to have like 10 long-term goals that take your, a 5-year plan, 10-year plan. Those are wonderful, as they should be, and those are mostly professional and things like that. But you want to have like short-term goals. What can I do between now and next Saturday? What can create some short-term goals and actually fulfill those to continue to give yourself more, to keep setting goals. My goal list is long, and I try to, there are some short-term goals that are just outliers, statistical bell curve. You have outliers. There are some goals like with doing laundry, washing dishes. Those are goals for me. So you're going to have that type of thing. But for most of my other goals in my life, short-term goals are steps that lead to the long-term. So I'm going to pick a goal, like when I worked on my doctorate. My goal was to complete my doctorate, and they give you 7 years, but I'm like, I don't want to take 7 years to complete a doctorate. So my goal was to complete my doctorate within 3 to 4 years. And so once I got my schedule, I was able to, the dates were there and everything. So I was kind of able to see where I would be. How long would it take me to get to the halfway point? Once I get, halfway point, how many classes is that? There was 18 classes, 54 credit hours. So with that stuff already being, requirements being there, it was easy for me to determine how long it was going to take me to finish my doctorate, because the dates, my class dates from start to finish were already there. So it was pretty cool to do. But that's what I'm saying. You got to have short-term goals that lead to the completion of your long-term goals to help you get them done. And then working together, you'll start, completing goals after goals after goals, and you'll start making progress. You'll see your goal list start to drop down. And then goals must be consistent, and you must be accountable for them. Don't set a goal and don't do it. What is the point of that? Everything that you do in life should have some type of calculated step to it. Once again, outliers. There are things that we're going to do just because we want to go get ice cream, but our life steps should be calculated. Everything you do should lead to one thing after another. And I always like to use the example with my students. I've been working from home since my daughter was a baby. That was calculated. Yes, I could be out in corporate America making all of this money despite some of the things that have gone on with my career, but my life was designed to where I could be where my daughter needed me when she needed me. So my steps were calculated. I, finished school. I was working from home, teaching from home. Everything I did was for me to be where my daughter needed me to be when she needed me. So it's all consistent, and then I'm accountable. There are some goals that I've had to not necessarily, kick off my list, but depending on certain life situations, I've had to move them around. You will shuffle your goals around because, things like COVID that are out of your control. And then there are some things that will be in your control, but there are other things that may take precedence. So even if you don't fulfill a goal right when you say, you just make sure that you keep going and you hold yourself accountable. You can fool other people in life, but you don't fool yourself. You don't fail yourself. Always make yourself accountable for achieving your goals. And then goals must have a time frame attached to them, and goals must be smart. Those two work together, and we'll talk about those in just a second because those are my next screens coming up. So that's why I said goals must be smart. Is what I said, goals must have a time frame to them. So a SMART goal, and this is basically the steps to it, not consistent steps. This is just an acronym. SMART is an acronym for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic or relevant, and then timely. Those are the acronyms for a SMART goal. And SMART goals, you will find yourself achieving and fulfilling more of them. So SMART is an acronym that stands for, and I have them all broken down. It's 3 slides. We're getting ready to go. The first one is S. It is specific. It's sensible, simple, and significant. The S is a clear and specific goal, ensures that the focus is there and provides insight into if one is truly motivated to achieve the goal. It doesn't matter what your goal is. I always use, basketball examples and things like that because I coach. And so the questions you want to ask yourself, because I'll get to the example in just a second, but the questions you want to ask yourself is, what do I want to accomplish? Why is this goal important? who is involved in me accomplishing this goal, where is this goal located? You know, these are all specific questions. And then what resources or limits do I have to fulfilling this goal? So when I think about basketball, you know, something like, what do I want to accomplish? Most kids are going to say, I want to go pro. Okay, that's fine. Why is that goal important? Well, some kids are going to tell you, well, I come from a broken home or you know, a low income home. My family's poor. I want to play professional sports so I can make money. You know, others are going to have, but that's, you know, most people that go pro, that tends to be their, you know, their reason. They're trying to make money to help their family. For school? Are you playing for a club team? Where do you guys play? Those are all specific answers. And then what resources or limits involved? When you play sports now, there's a cost. So how much does it cost to play basketball? You know, what limits do you have to that? What gear are you going to need? Are you going to need compression gear? What kind of shoes are you going to need? So there are all kind of resources that you need. But when you get specific about your goal and how you're going to achieve it, then you're getting started there. And then your goal must be measurable, which means you have to be able to track the progress of the goal attainment. Let me move you guys around again. So, wow, excuse me. I keep hitting, my mouse is super sensitive. There we go. M, measurable. That means you have meaningful and motivating reasons for this. And measurable means that you are tracking your goal, the progression of your goal attainment. So you're going to ask yourself the following questions. Let me move something else around. And once again, if my screen stops sharing, let me know, because I'm moving things around and I may stop it by mistake. The following questions that you can ask yourself. How much will these goals take to achieve based on resources? And most often resources are going to mean time and money, finances, money. How much time is this going to take and how much money is this going to cost me? Let's be honest with that. And then the second one, how many days, weeks, months, and or years will this take for me to fulfill that? Well, let's go back and talk about basketball. They say for your average professional athlete, it took them at least 10 years to become what the world considers the definition of elite. You know, and, you know, we won't get into, you know, kids being elite at 10 and 12. No, they're not. That's just whatever. But you know, the research and everything that has been done that I, you know, read working on my doctorate, the average athlete, it takes you 10 years. And that's 10 of you understand the foundational basics of basketball 101, both offense and defense. Once you learn that, then it takes you an additional 10 years to become elite as defined by USA Basketball. So that's the question. How many days, weeks, months, or years will it take me to go pro? It's going to take you at least 10. And then how will I know when I've accomplished that goal? For basketball, I actually get drafted and make a WNBA team, and I don't get cut before the season starts. So it's measurable. You know, those are things that you're looking for. You made it specific. You want a specific goal to go pro. You've answered the questions why and who and where and which. Now is how much is that going to take? How much time? 10 years and thousands of dollars. That's just the reality of playing club ball and sports, youth sports now. And how many days, weeks, months, years? 10 years. And how will I know I've accomplished it? I actually made it to a pro team. So, you know, it's not just I want to go pro. You actually have things that you can measure along the way to let you know that you're on the right track. And the next thing is A, is goal achievable? Is it attainable? And the reasoning with that is you have to be honest with yourself and make your goals achievable. Don't set a goal so far out that it's not achievable. That's like one thing I've always, people always use dunking. You know, if you 3'2", dunking may not be in your ministry. You know, y'all laugh at me when I say things are not in people's ministries, but you got to be achievable. Now, granted, there are some people out there that can jump out the gym and you may be 3'5". Hey, you may can dunk, but your average 3'5" person will never dunk. So you have to make sure that whatever goal you have, it is achievable. You can attain it. You're not going to spend all of this time and not fulfill that goal. So don't set yourself up to fail by not being honest about who you are by way of your drive, your skill set, your mindset. We can also throw in, if you're an athlete, what you can do athletically, you know, what you're willing to do mentally to get yourself ready to perform athletically. You know, these have to be realistic goals. And so you will ask yourself the following questions. How can I accomplish this goal? What is it going to take for me to dunk at 3'5"? You know, you got to get your body biologically correct. You know, jumping is that's calf muscles and fast twitch muscles, and you got to work on that. And then how realistic is this goal based on other constraints such as financial factors with an athlete height? That's not very realistic, so we'll just let that go. Okay, so now you're talking about, let's say a 6'1" boy wants to learn how to dunk. So how can he accomplish that goal? Jumping, working on jumping exercises, working on their body, nutrition, everything, works into that. Learning how to jump, touching the backboard. How realistic is that goal? At 6'1", it's real realistic. If you really want to do it, you probably can dunk if you work on it long enough. Any other financial factors or any other constraints? How long can you be in the gym? How much time can you devote to learning how to dunk? Do I have the drive and motivation enough to develop these skills required to achieve my goals based on my existing experience and qualifications? Basically foundational skills. So let's be honest. If you have never played basketball before, you have never played on a team, you have never been on a basketball court, the honesty of you being able to dunk, let's say you want to dunk, you're at the beginning of the summer, I'm going to be dunking by July 1st. It's June 1st, I'm going to be dunking by July 1st, but you have never stepped foot on a basketball court ever. You're not going to be dunking by July 1st, not realistically. So you have to be honest with yourself about where you currently are with experience and qualifications when you're setting goals. Now, it's wonderful. Like I said, goals have to be challenging. You want to set a goal that you can see. But you got to make sure when you're seeing that goal that it's realistic and you can actually get there, because otherwise you're setting yourself up to fail. And important, that's what I'm saying. That's another thing. Do not set goals that someone else has power over. And I've had to learn this myself. And one of the things that I hear everybody say this is, they want to get this promotion. My goal is to get this promotion. I want to go from just a regular employee to now I want to be in management. That's fine. However, what you only can really set goals with that promotion is achieving the skills, experience, and qualifications necessary to be good in the position. You want to go from, say, just a regular employee to like department manager. Well, what you really can only set the goals for are finding out what the skills and qualifications and experience necessary to have that position and work on that. You can't say I can do those things and I'm just going to get this promotion. Why? Because someone else is in charge of that. Someone else determines whether you actually get that promotion, not your skills, not your education, not your qualifications. Those are things that make you qualified for that position. But somebody else determines whether you actually get that position. So you can't say my goal is to get promoted. Your goal is to attain the necessary skills, experience, and qualification time and everything to put yourself in position to be good at being a department manager. But whether you actually get that job as a department manager, that's out of your control. So make sure that when you're setting your goals, that you're not setting a goal on something that depends on somebody else's input or somebody else's yay or nay. Make sense? And then make sure that your goals are realistic and make sure, oh my goodness. Excuse me, y'all. My mouse I keep moving things around, so sensitive. So make sure that your goals are realistic and relevant. If you look at SMART goals, the anagram, sometimes R is going to say realistic, sometimes R is going to say relevant. They pretty much, this same thing, be realistic and make sure that your goals are relevant to what you're trying to do. So you must be reasonable, realistic, and resource and results based. Being honest with yourself, determine if your goals are relevant to you. You may have a goal of going pro, but based on what's really going on in your life, is that really something you should be doing? You may be a good high school player or a good college player. It doesn't mean that if you stop playing that sport that you weren't good at that sport. That just means that based on what's going on with your life and the other things outside of basketball or sports that's going on with your life, basketball may no longer take precedence. So in your dream of going pro, as you're doing other things in life, basketball may be here, other life things may be there, but then what happens when other life starts to take over doesn't mean you don't love basketball, but now basketball is no longer here. Basketball is here, or basketball and the rest of your life are here, but basketball is no longer the precedent. There's nothing, don't ever compare when you're doing your goals. One thing that you cannot do is compare yourself to where other people are in their goal attainment in their life. You will forever be miserable because there's always going to be somebody ahead of you in attaining their goals, and there's always going to be somebody below you. Statistical bell curve, remember? There's always going to be somebody ahead, there's going to always be somebody below, and your average person is going to be between. So don't ever, well, she has this, and we're in the same grade, or we're in the same company and we started on the same day, and now she's a VP and I'm still just a regular shift employee. Well, there are some things there. You can't, do not ever compare yourself and compete with somebody else fulfilling their goals. You will always drive yourself nuts. So questions that you need to ask yourself when being realistic and relevant: are your goals important enough to invest the time and resources needed to attain them? So just like the lady, my example of two people starting at the company at the same time, now one is a VP and one is still a shift employee. What happened in that time frame, and what were the personal investments in the time and resource investments for her to get that VP position and you did not? There's always a reason as to why things happen. If you take out, like I said, like with the promotions, other people's opinions and other people's input, what do you bring and what are you willing to do to invest the time and resources that are needed to get yourself to become a VP? You have to be realistic about what's going on with you, because it's nobody's fault if you don't attain your own goal that you set for yourself. That is all on you. So just make sure that you're realistic about what's going on with your life, how much time and everything that you have to do this, to have to be realistic with yourself, because if you don't, you're setting yourself up for failure, and that just ruins everything. So another question under R: am I achieving the goal that I want to achieve for myself, and not someone else's goal for my life? And I talk about this a lot with my basketball players. I am always, my daughter and everybody will tell you, my question is always, are you continuing to play because you want to play, or are you playing to please mom and dad? I don't want you here if you're pleasing mom and dad and you really don't want to be here. And I've had, several players over the years, they're like, Coach Bree, I'm just playing because my mama signed me up for basketball, or I'm just playing because my daddy signed me up for basketball. Well, tell me what your basketball goals are. I just want something to do. Kids are brutally honest. I'm okay with that. But playing basketball was not their goal. They're just playing because that's the way for some of them to get attention from mom and dad, or mom and dad is just trying to find them something to do and get them out of the house. But at the end of the day, if you tell me you want to go pro, but you only playing basketball because mom and dad signs you up, that already lets me know that everything between that sign up and you going pro, something's going to fall apart, because going pro is really not your goal, because playing basketball was really not your goal. It was mom and dad's. So you have to be realistic about, who are you doing this for? Because you have to set your goals to be realistic for you. Don't ever set a goal, to satisfy and be realistic for someone else, because it's going to fall apart. So next question is, do my goals correlate to each other? And that's what I was saying earlier before about make sure your goals, your short-term goals lead to your long-term goals, and you just don't have these outlier short-term goals that lead to nothing. When you create a long-term goal, you have to have little smaller goals to accomplish in the steps to get there. So make sure your goals correlate to each other, but also it's not just those, like my different roles in life. I try to make sure that my roles correlate. So if I do something different, my life is not spiraling out of control. So like I can be at home and I can be, a PTA volunteer. I can coach basketball. I can teach classes. I can be a resident professional. I can be here for my daughter. All of those roles. And I can't take credit for all of that. That's mostly the Lord. But I'm really blessed that every role in my life that I play, they all correlate to each other. They're not outlined. I don't have some role that is completely not part of what I'm currently doing in my life. So my roles and my goals correlate to each other. Now, the next one, can I achieve more than one goal at a time? You got to be realistic with yourself as well there. Are you capable of doing this, achieving more than one goal? And for some, no. And for some, yes. You just have to be willing, to sit down and think about it and say, hey, I can do this and this at the same time. And I can fulfill these two. Wonderful. But for others, they can't. And it's for various reasons. And that is fine. No, you're not in competition with anybody on how many goals you have to have completed in a year. You're not going to get an award for that from anything. So just be honest with yourself with how many goals you can work on at a time. And then, are you willing to accept and be responsible for not just all successes, but any and all failures that come with bringing goals to fruition? There's a picture out there that it shows what people think goal attainment is, and it has like this grid, like a XY coordinates. I'm talking about the plane thing. And it shows the arrow just going from 0 up in an angle where there's just straight improvement, no failures, and that's not realistic. And then you look at the other side, the left side, it has what people think goal attainment is, and then on the left side, what the reality is. And you see this, and you have little squiggly lines, and it's going around, and that's what achieving goals is. You're not gonna achieve everything, every time or the first time you try. Especially like for people that are perfectionists like myself, like my daughter, we get really angry if we don't get something done the first time because we know I'm trying to get this goal accomplished, but something has happened and now I can't do it. And now I got to take 3 steps back and I've already gone 10 steps forward. And then I got to take 5 steps back and then I'm only going 2 steps forward. That's just part of it. And you have to be willing to not only celebrate the successes, but admit those failures and learn from them. Don't just have a failure. And a failure is not you just failed to do something. Failures are anything that prevents you from doing this. And it's called life. There are things in life that are going to happen that there are some times when it's going to look like this and everything's going to be going smoothly and it's just going to be going. And then all of a sudden something's going to happen. It may be in your control. It may not be. Or you may do something like, say you turn in a paper, you're expecting an A and you got a C. That's a little small failure, but it's not necessarily a failure. It's just a failure because it's not that A you wanted. You see what I'm saying? But you take that C, you read the feedback, and you understand where you can get better. And the next paper you write, you take that feedback, apply it to the next paper, and maybe get that A. So you got to be able to enjoy both the successes and the failures with bringing goals to fruition. And then the last one is T. Goals have to be time bound. They have to be tied to a time of completion. Time-based, time limited, time cost limited, timely, time sensitive. They all mean the same thing. How long is it going to take you to finish this? So everyone needs a goal that has a date of completion or a target date. This is where short-term goals lead to completing long-term goals. So you ask yourself the following question. What is my target date for achieving this goal? Basketball. You're 12, you want to go pro. Your average pro athlete is what? Maybe, well, let's say if they don't just come straight out of high school and try to go pro, your average pro athlete is what? Anywhere from 19 to 21, something like that. So you're 12, you're giving yourself a target date of my 19th birthday. You're 12 January, you're 12 years old. So you're giving yourself to January 7 years later, 7 to 9 years later, 19 to 21. So that's your target date, and whatever date that is in January, that will be your birthday. I'm just giving something. Then it's what are the short-term target dates to completing the task relevant to completing my goal? Well, you have to figure out and sit down and determine what is it that you have to learn mentally and physically to get yourself ready to be a professional athlete, because there is a lot involved there. When are you going to sit down and watch games and learn different defenses, different offenses? When are you going to work on developing your body, working on your cardio, working on your strength and conditioning, building weight, lifting weights and running? When are you going to, get out on the court and, work on your game, learn to do a layup, left and right? When you're going to learn correct shooting form? There are so many things that goes into wanting to be a professional athlete. And those are all short-term goals. So you have to sit down and say, from this time to this time, I'm going to be working on this. And it's fine. Some short-term goals are going to be longer than others, but you have to be willing to sit down and create those short-term goal dates and fulfill them. Don't just create them, fulfill them, because the more short-term goals you feel to become a professional athlete, the closer you get to becoming a professional athlete, it all works together. I'm looking at my time over here, you guys. And then what should be achieved at the halfway point to where I know that I am on task to accomplish this goal? Well, for many, it's making high school varsity or making college, you know, playing at the collegiate level. You know, it's kind of the halfway point. You got junior high, high school, college, pro. So that halfway point is college varsity, you know, collegiate basketball. And once again, if you do it, fine. If you don't, fine. But you know, you got some athletes that who they are, Kennedy Carter, you know, your Azzy Fudds, your LeBron James, they were destined to be professional athletes. And so you know, their halfway points would have been well, LeBron didn't play college ball, but you know, Kennedy Carter playing at A&M, and now she's in the WNBA. You know, that halfway point was that point, going from high school to college ball. And then the ending point, the ending goal achievement was making the WNBA. So there are things that you can do to determine what is the halfway point to let me know that I'm halfway to my goal. Only you can determine that. Nobody can determine for you. It's based on what you're trying to do. And then what can I do today to get this goal attainment up and running? So if you're trying to be a professional athlete today, what can you do right now after this presentation is over to become a professional athlete? You can start getting on the floor, working on push-ups. You can do jumping up against the wall, you know, shooting up in the air. There is so much that you can do, but it's a small goal. It's a short-term goal. I'm gonna do 25 push-ups. Okay, short-term goal, 25 push-ups, done. Goal accomplished. Next goal. You know, so you have to set your goals to where what is that's the smallest thing that I can do to get myself motivated to go. And then every day you do something else and something else, and you get yourself up and running, and that leads to motivating yourself, which is up next. If your goals, and important, if your goals are not time bound, they are not goals. They're pipe dreams, to be honest. Don't set a goal and it takes you 20 years to do it. That was never a goal. That was just a dream to let somebody know that you have a goal that you're really never going to accomplish. So those who are truly trying to bring their list of goals to fruition must apply the SMART acronym to them. Otherwise, that list will be considered a long pipe dream. Don't, you know, it's a lot of time you talk to people 5 years and then 10 years later, they still have the same goal, and you like, wait, 10 years ago, you probably should have been able to accomplish some of that. You know, so you have to be realistic with yourself about what you're doing, and make sure that when you're talking to others about your dreams that you are really trying to do something, because after a while, it's going to go in and out, one ear and out the other with people. Next thing is motivation. And what is motivation? Motivation, what is motivate is defined as a cause or reason to act. Thus, motivation is defined as the state or condition of being motivated or having a strong reason to act or accomplish something. Most of us have seniors, or we have seniors, you know, on. You're motivated to graduate high school at this point. You have a strong desire to motivate, you know, to get out of high school. That's a goal for you right now. What are the things that you have to do to make that happen? Pass your classes, make sure you're at school, get the grades you need, you know, have all your test scores in. You know, you have to, there are certain things that you have to do as a senior to ensure that you graduate, that you are on task to graduate. And it normally starts your freshman year, but by the time your senior year rolls around, you need to go back and check and make sure that you're motivated. Even if you're missing something, that you instantly get motivated to get the things that you need accomplished to graduate. So is, you know, motivation, you know, something you just come out the air. You could be sleeping, just wake up and say, ooh, I need to do that. That's motivation. You know, motivation is simple. And then why is motivation important? Motivation provides life direction. It gives your life purpose, just like having a goal, you know, and you really can't accomplish a goal without being motivated to do so. So when you're motivated and to have life direction and have a purpose and have a goal, it makes you motivated to get up and get it done. And then motivation gives you a way to track life progression. You know, wait a minute. This is not the correct information, you guys. I am so sorry. We're going to go away from that. I mean, it really all works together, but for somehow I have copied and pasted the wrong information, and it doesn't matter because it all still applies. So we're going to keep going with it. Motivation is important because, and like I said, it works with goals. So this list still applies. It holds you accountable. You can't fulfill a goal without being motivated. There is no way you can lay on the couch and say, I'm gonna get up and do 25 push-ups, but you never get off the couch. Or I'm gonna get up and go to college and complete an associate degree and never get off the couch. There's just no way that you can do one without the other. So motivation, I mean, and honestly, that information is all the same, but it gives you drive. You know, motivation gives you drive. And once you are motivated and that drive turns into perseverance, I'm not going to quit. You know, Lady Panthers, we always no quit attitude. There is no quit. When you start that, you get that one foot in front of the other and you keep walking and keep walking and keep working on that goal, keep working on that goal. It's hard to stop because now you're determined to do it. And that's perseverance. No matter what happens, I'm getting this done. You know, and then once you do that, it makes you determined to continue going. You know, you can't, like I tell my kids all the time, you can't work on your basketball skills for 9, 10, 11 years and not be determined to do something with it. You know, and I'm not talking about going pro. I'm saying just for the sake of yourself, when you're working, even school, you're working on your grades, you know, you're working on going to school, you're working on being a cosmetologist, you're working on being an officer in the military. It doesn't matter what you're doing. When you are investing the time and resources to do that, it's hard to stop. Because at one point you get to the point where you say, I gotta keep going because I've been doing it too long. So, you know, that all of that is the motivating force that's telling you to keep going. And then the mental blocks, that doesn't, you know, necessarily works into it. But once again, when you have a goal on your plate, it's hard to be unfocused. You know, it doesn't mean that you don't, you know, we all have our moments where we, you know, kind of trip out for a minute, but it's hard to have mental blocks when you are working on achieving goals because you are focused. You have stuff on your plate to do. You know, so the motivation is there to get it done. And then it determines what you want out of life. Motivation goals, achieve a goal, get motivated to do it. Short-term goals lead to long-term goals. And it turns into that life that you've always envisioned in your head. So actually that information wasn't correct. It was right. Yeah, I've been making these presentations. They've been working me, but I'm okay with it. And then there are types of motivation, and I always talk to this about, you know, with my girls and my friends. You know, when I say my girls, I'm talking about my basketball players. And then with my friends, they're always, Coach, what does that mean? So that it is inside motivation. It comes from inside of you. Motivation from within. It is those activities that you do because you enjoy the activities themselves. Internal satisfaction, you know, Coach Kathy always talks to the kids about, you know, we always talk to our kids about if we have to get up and tell you to work on your basketball skills, you're not motivated to be a basketball player because there should be something inside of you that says, I need to get up and go outside and do something. I need to get up and go to the court and do something. That's intrinsic motivation to want to be a better basketball player. And then the sought after thing that is the means to an end and not the end itself. So it's the completion of the task that brings the satisfaction, not the result of completing the task. That's extrinsic, and we'll get to that in just a second. It's doing a job well done, which makes the completion of that job just as meaningful as the steps it took to get it done. When you're doing anything, there is something in you that makes you feel good to do it. When I'm doing my presentations, I am intrinsically motivated. Like I said, I was scared to death at first, but there is something inside of me that when I do my presentations, I don't need somebody to pat me on my back and tell me, hey, Bridge, you're doing good. I love it, and I thank y'all for doing it. I do appreciate it. But I'm doing this because it makes me feel good. I feel like there is something I'm doing to contribute to society and help the kids, not just in 800 Link, but specifically in 800 Link, but just all over. I feel good doing these presentations. And so with intrinsic motivation, the job well done comes from inside and enjoying the steps it takes to do it. Not just the fact that I done everything, you know, the getting the presentation together, picking out pictures, you know, getting my slides lined up, inputting information, even when I make a typo or something, you know, all of that is steps to me getting my presentation ready for you guys every Thursday, I'm sorry. And so the steps that it takes me to get my presentations together, I get fulfillment out of that. And then the result is me presenting my presentation. I'm not looking for you guys to tell me, you know, good job, you did a wonderful job. I love that, but I don't need it. My love of this comes from just being able to do this and present it to you guys. And so a theory for intrinsic motivation, if anybody knows, is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And for years it's been debunked because his needs are never based on, it's qualitative. It's not based on quantitative measurable information. And anytime you can apply a number to something, researchers want to say it doesn't, you can't do it. Maslow always said that, excuse me, my throat is itchy. Maslow has always said that as we go through life, there are 7 needs that we have. And at the very basic need, you have to have, basic fulfillment, having a roof over your head, food on the table, clothes on your back, shoes on your feet. And you progress through these needs until you get to the very top, and that's self-actualization. And self-actualization comes from where you no longer need outside forces to motivate you to do something. You're motivating yourself because of what it makes you feel like to get it done, and it is not tied to a reward. So if you ever get a chance, look up Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Is actually, I've lived my life off it every time since I've learned it back in 2003. But a lot of people debunk it because you can't apply numbers to it. There's nothing quantitative about it. It's a completely qualitative theory, and it works. It just lets you know there are things that you have to satisfy in your life before you can move to the next steps, and that's pretty much how I live my life. But on the flip side of that, you have extrinsic motivation, and these are people that require outside accolades and motivation to get them going. So extrinsic motivation is any reason that a person does the work other than the joy of doing the work itself. It's not coming from inside. You're doing the work because somebody's going to take a job. You're doing the work because somebody's going to hand you a participation trophy. You're doing the work because somebody's going to hand you a paycheck, but there is nothing about what you're doing that comes from inside. And there are external forces that work for it. Like at work here, you're doing it for a paycheck or for accolades or awards. The external satisfaction takes precedence. You're doing it for other people to see you. It's you did a wonderful job. It's to do basketball so you can be ranked. If you're playing basketball just so you can be on the ESPN top 100 list, you're not doing it for the right reasons, and you're not going to stay on that list long. Those kids that are on that list, they could care less about being ranked. They just love playing basketball. And you can see that in them on the court. But for those that are, playing sports just to get the money or just to, have people pat them on their backs and all that type of stuff, they're not doing it for the right reasons. And so with extrinsic motivation, they're doing it for the end, which is the result and not the means. Just like we always get mad because we say kids want to go from walking to dunking, but they don't want to do everything necessary in between to learn how to dunk. It's kind of the same thing. You want to get the achievement of saying you know how to dunk, but you can't do a layup. So you can use sports to describe this stuff all day long. And then one is looking to be told good job by others and rewarded just the same. You're doing it for the award, the awards, the recognition, the money. And with extrinsic motivation, there's conditions to it. Unfortunately, anytime you are relying on other people to pat you on your head and tell you you are doing a good job, that comes with conditions. Just like, when they say people love you until they don't, people love LeBron James until they didn't. People loved, KD until they didn't. People loved James Harden until they didn't, because the love came with conditions, and so if anything, and I tell everybody, the best way to live life is to live life intrinsically. Yes, we're social by nature. We want people, we can't just live alone. We're not hermits, even though people try to be. But you want that meaningful social relationship in your lives, but you can't be so addicted to needing the people around you to feed your ego that you can't feed your own. I tell people, my daughter tell you more anybody loves me better than me. I'm not arrogant. I'm not conceited, but I can be in the mirror and hype my own self up. I don't need anybody else for that. So a theory that goes with extrinsic motivation is Vroom's expectancy theory. And because I'm not a real big extrinsic motivation person, I just kind of know the basics of it, and it's basically what it is. You're expecting people to give you the accolades to make you move forward. You're not doing something unless somebody is patting you on your back to move you forward. That's kind of the basis of it. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I could talk about that all day long, but Vroom's expectancy theory, not so much. And then how does one, let me move some stuff around again. How does one motivate themselves? First of all, you have to understand you setting this goal to be motivated to do this? What is it that you're trying to do that gives you the motivation to want to set this goal? That's pretty much number one. And then know whether you need intrinsic or extrinsic motivational forces to act. I'm looking at my clock here, you guys. You have to know what motivates you to do what you do, because until you know that, nothing else is, you're just spinning your wheels. You have to know if you can do this and have no cheering squad, or you have to know if you need this cheering squad. And I'm not going to say being intrinsically motivating is an issue. You just don't want it to become such a ruling part of your life that you can't accomplish anything unless somebody is standing behind you saying, good job. You have to pull some of that out of yourself. And then number three, stay focused on your overall goals. Stay focused on the big picture. There are things that are going to come at you, but you have to stay focused on, fulfilling your goal, and there are things, life, once again, life happens, remember the whole squiggly thing, goals don't do this, they do this. So things are going to happen, but as long as you keep yourself on the big picture and fulfilling that goal, even though things are doing this, the things are still going up to goal completion. So even though you got these outside forces, you're still overall going to end up completing your goal. Get active and exercise. You need to be able to move around, make a conscious effort to focus on self-care. Working on goals can drain you, and that's fine, but sometimes you have to take the time to pull back and rest and get active and exercise and eat right, because you don't take care of your body's not going to take care of you. Number five, if at all possible, have a friend who can be your accountability buddy and you theirs. You need somebody holding you accountable. That's not extrinsic. You just need somebody to help you. Sometimes you need people to help you hold yourself accountable. Things happen and you just need that extra push sometimes. I got 9 minutes, so let's keep moving. Post positive quotes all around you and read them daily, because it is said that a habit is created after doing something 21 days in a row. Keep positivity around you. You got enough negativity coming around you just living, coming at you from all directions. So if at all times you can, write little, take a Post-it note and write yourself positive affirmation, quotes of affirmation, and stick them up. I like to stick them in the bathroom, places where you're going to be, at my desk and things like that. And you read them daily. And after a while, that positivity will keep you going. Create and achieve short-term goals to make you feel a sense of accomplishment while working on long-term goals. Visualize yourself bringing your goals to fruition. Often create a vision board. If you don't know what a vision board is, look it up. But a vision board is you going through magazines and online and printing pictures, and it's pictures of things that you want for your life. It's not always realistic. Some people, they do the houses and the cars. We've all done that. But make your vision board meaningful to your life, and then hang it somewhere where you can see it daily. Because when you see that, that gives you the motivation to create those goals, to work on bringing that stuff that you want on that vision board to fruition. Visualize your future and seek to live that future that you have imagined. Don't just go through life with no goals. Don't go through life, just doing nothing. Create something for yourself. So the summary is, the goal is defined as the result toward which effort is directed. Goals provide direction, accountability, and meaning to life. And a real goal list has the SMART acronym applied to it: specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and relevant, and timely. And then motivation is defined as the state or condition of being motivated or having a strong reason to act or accomplish something. The source of one's motivation is either intrinsic or extrinsic, and you must know your source of motivation. And then one motivates themselves by understanding their why, knowing how they are motivated, staying focused, posting positive quotes to read daily, practicing self-care, and creating both short and long-term goals. When you work on a goal and you work on the steps, and the steps really to achieving a goal is where the motivation comes in. When you're creating those steps, like I said, when you put time, resources, and stuff, it's hard to give it up because you've invested I know you just still there. Y'all, my thing disconnected. I apologize. Welcome back. I'm sorry, my presentation disconnected, and actually we were already at the end. The next thing was tomorrow at 3:30, I am doing a Duolingo. It's Hispanic Heritage Month that we're celebrating here with TI Communities. It's a corporate-wide event where all 30 complexes are getting together tomorrow. And I will be doing a Duolingo presentation tomorrow. If you guys can see that. You did just see that. If not, but I'll be presenting at 3:30, and I'll be using the company-wide Zoom form. I've sent everybody the emails. It's posted on Facebook and all the links and everything. So if you want to come and watch that, it's only going to be about 30-45 minutes. It's not going to be as long because it's a company-wide thing. There are several people that are doing different presentations, but mine is on Duolingo because I'm getting ready to do a Duolingo chat we have. So if you're busy, not busy tomorrow at 3:30, you are. Next week, I'm doing next Thursday, my presentation is on internet safety and social media. We have to do some type of safety presentation sometimes. So I chose to do a safety and education presentation next week. And it's going to be on social media, internet safety, mostly for high school kids and school age kids, about what they should and shouldn't be doing on the internet. And then next Friday, TI Communities is doing a corporate-wide voter registration drive. And myself and a guy named Matthew, we will both be presenting 2 different presentations. I'm in charge of providing information on the voting guidelines for the state of Texas, the state of Illinois, and the state of Nevada. And then Matthew's going to do the other 3 states. TI Communities has complexes in these states. And so he chose 3, I chose 3. And then I'm in charge of presenting information on the history of voting. So this weekend, I'm going to be busy trying to get that information, do some research, make sure I know my stuff, and then hopefully I'll learn some more stuff when I go to the training for early voting. I'll be working early voting this year. I'm kind of excited about that, even with COVID. I'll be safe, Mom. But that's what's coming up for me, tomorrow. And then I have 3 more presentations in the next 7 days. So it's going to be interesting. I'm in coffee and coffee and love, but I'm going to get it done. But thank you all for coming. If you, I don't know if the chat thing is still, if that stuff, because it disconnected. Let me get the link again. Give me just a second. Let me pull that link back up, because yeah, I almost made it through and it disconnected. I was hoping it didn't do it, but hey, it is what it is. But let me get this link for you. And if you haven't finished it or hadn't clicked on it, here it is again. Just click on that link. It's the post survey. Oh, before we leave, because I keep forgetting to get the pictures again, and they keep asking me to get my pictures. I got 2 minutes to get this picture done. But remember, the community is 800 link. The date, the event name was goal setting and motivation. And then put in the unit that you're not a resident instead of trying to put my door number. And then my daughter put the door number, but just put that you're not a resident instead of trying to put the unit number, and then go through and answer the rest of the questions. But I have 2 minutes left, everybody, and I want to say thank you again. These presentations are fun. Y'all learn a little bit about me every week because I try to share and everything like that. But I love you all. Thank you for coming. If I see you tomorrow, I'll see you. If don't, I understand. It's going to be reposted. All of these videos are going to be reposted. So if you don't get to watch them live, you can always go back and watch them when you want to. And then if not, I'll see you next Thursday at 7. If you're coming, the next Friday afternoon. I forgot what times the voting things are. I'll let you know. But I love you all. Thank you for coming. And I will see you later before this disconnects again. Bye-bye.